We go to Ron Paul now. Ron Paul is the author of End the Fed, which I have to tell you, Ron, a couple of years ago, let's say 5 years ago, the people that were talking about the Federal Reserve were the geeks, quite honestly. They were right, but they were geeks. And now I think most Americans, while they still don't understand the Fed, they at least know something's not right here.
There's no doubt about it. I think that is reflected in the support I have for at least opening up the books. Not so much to decide at the moment exactly what we should do with the Fed, but 75% of the American people now say that we, as a Congress, have to at least, have oversight and know what they're doing. How do they create money? Who gets the benefits? What's the gimmick? And this has come about mainly because of the financial crisis, and I think this is all good. The people are paying attention to the Fed, and it's a very important issue.
Ron, I haven't read the book, and I apologize for that. I haven't read the book yet, but do you cover in there the selling of our treasuries back to ourselves?
Not directly. Indirectly, I talk about that, the monetization of debt. That is, the Congress has the license to spend, and they don't have to be responsible, whether it's domestic or international spending, for whatever the Congress wants. But, there's a limit to taxation. There's a limit to borrowing. Taxation, the people will rebel. Borrowing, the interest rates will go too high. So the Fed is there to accommodate anybody who wants to spend too much, and unfortunately conservatives and liberals want to spend too much. So the Fed buys these treasury bills, but they create the money out of thin air, and then the Treasury has to pay interest on those bills.
Can we get Ben Bernanke at all on something like when he was testifying in front of Congress, and they said, will you monetize the debt? And he said, no, we will not. They have, and I have the Treasury bill numbers, they have sold our debt. I think it was, $5 or $7 billion, something like that. They sold our debt just recently. It sold to a third party. 7 days later, we purchased it back. The Fed bought it back. So while they're not directly monetizing, they're not selling it to themselves, they did suspiciously sell it to somebody to hold for 5 to 7 days, and then they just bought it back.
Yeah, and that's well known. They're called repurchase agreements. It's all in the gimmickry and why they do it and when they do it. But overall, they have promised, when the crisis hit, that they would buy up, which means monetizing $300 billion worth, and they're in the process. They're about finished with that. But when he was before the committee, even the last time I brought that to his attention, I said, you're not going to monetize the debt. But then I pointed out that very week he had bought $50 billion in 1 week. Last week they bought $48 billion of either housing securities or Treasury debt. And I said, as soon as you use that $300 billion that you promised you would buy, if you don't, interest rates are going to skyrocket. There's no way he's going to quit buying debt because the foreigners are buying a lot less right now.
Right.
They haven't dumped it because it's in their interest not to dump them on the market, all the dollars. But they're buying less, and the Fed is buying a lot more, and they're between the rock and the hard place. Pretty soon they're going to have to admit they are monetizing debt, and it's not going to be good for the markets.
What happens when Israel strikes Iran, or Iran has the Earth rays, and we know that they now have a nuclear weapon? What happens to our financial system at that point?
Well, I think the Chinese take over. If there's a real panic and oil shoots up to a couple $100, the Chinese will dump their dollars. Chinese are maneuvering for this. The more we threaten Iran, the stronger the Chinese influence gets, because they're using the dollars that they have earned from us and saved. They have $1 trillion, and they're starting to buy up assets in Iran and build plants and get involved in their energy. So the whole thing is backfiring on us. We're getting ready to put tougher sanctions on the Iranians, and that will make things that much worse. It won't help the dissidents in Iran. It's going to cost us a lot of money, and there will be a bombing, and that will be a big, big event. I think it'll crash the dollar is what I think it would do.
What does America look like after a crashed dollar?
and not like it looks today. We think it was bad with the financial crisis. When you have a dollar crisis, the whole thing quits functioning. The checks bounce. Literally, the federal government's checks bounce. If you have
wait. Does that mean that all of your friends in Washington then just go away?
Yeah, that might be a good part of it.
That might be a good idea. I say we crash the dollar today if that's the effect.
I think we're going to have a de facto 10th Amendment and secession. People are just going to ignore the federal government because they won't. And there's a total loss of credibility. This idea that Obama says that we're going to have all this new medical care, we're going to take care of everybody, and it's not going to cost a penny, and we're going to balance the budget and actually cut the deficit by giving people more services. All that does is build, the lack of credibility that people just say that's not believable. But no, it'll continue that way, and the checks will keep coming. People will get their Social Security checks, but like this year, even though there's been a lot of inflation that they don't admit to, there's no cost of living increases in the Social Security check. So the people who are dependent on fixed incomes or Social Security, their standard of living is going down right now, and it will continue to go down, and it will go down rapidly in the midst of a dollar crisis.
Congressman Paul, the media, and even now Patrick Kennedy said this. We heard this from two people, Muammar Gaddafi, and I believe the other one was Ahmadinejad, that both spoke last week, and they were